Yeah, he didn't get a game back this year back at the Rabbitohs and moved to the Sharks, and it all
Yeah,
seems to be going well. Whereas the Titans, one of the problems um, that they've got is lots of injuries and stuff like that. I mean, they ended up bringing Tyrone Roberts back into the side and playing at fullback, but they're missing players through injury already,
yeah, and then getting more injuries, which is not going to help, is it?
and already starting from a position of not having a great squad. I mean, we've done this before, but I'm going to do it again. They've got players playing for them almost every week that I've never heard of. You know,
Yeah,
Beau Fermor, never heard of him. Never heard of him. Tanner
no,
Boyd, no idea. Erin Clark, she was back in on the bench. She missed the game that they won last week. Anyway, the next game I saw the second half of. So my view of this game is that the Warriors were absolutely outstanding and the Broncos were terrible. It finished 26 points to 16 in favour of the Broncos, although Herbie Farnworth did get a try, his second in the NRL and his second in 2 weeks.
yep. And Lee Whitnell got in touch to say another humiliating defeat for the Broncos to a team with their own off-field problems that should have been there for their taking. Herbie's edge is inexperienced, did a lot of defending and scored all the tries, so they can hold their heads up, but the senior Brisbane players didn't earn their money again. Well played, Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, it's two teenagers playing out there, Herbie Farnworth and Xavier Coates. But there's just every week now with the Broncos, they just talk about who's going to get dropped, who's not going to play, and all of that sort of stuff. The Warriors players have been so demoralised that they've all been sort of thinking of jumping ship and going back home to see the family and stuff, which I can completely understand where they'd be sort of coming from. With that, but they didn't show any kind of give up in this game. They scored 3 tries in the last 10, 11 minutes, so it was a close game up until that point, really, and they just wore down a team that are in absolute dire straits, confidence-wise, in the shape of the Broncos. I don't know where they've got to go, but I'm really pleased for the Warriors that they managed to pick up a win. We then had the West Tigers versus the Penrith Panthers. Two of the sort of promising sides this year. One certainly a surprise in the Tigers. It finished 19 points to 12 in favour of the Panthers, and it was Nathan Cleary who ran the show really for them to a certain extent and got all the key points towards the end of the game. Who got in touch on this one?
Yep, so Lee Whitnell again, he was obviously watching games on Saturday, said this was a cracking game, played with loads of intensity and plenty of niggle. The Appy break and pass to Edwards for the try that iced the game provided a fitting finale. The Tigers did their best to get back into it, but thick as mince, Lailua had a brain explosion and left his team short-handed at the end. Well played, Panthers.
Yeah, and David Hunter said, Joey Leilua just completely lost his head. What a great game, though. Yeah, I think only saw the second half of this game, but or maybe a little bit towards the back end of the first half. It was a very entertaining game, and I think this Tigers side are still continuing to play well above their sort of level. But Luciano Leilua got knocked unconscious by a very accidental tackle from Api Coruscant, where the younger Leilua brother, he kind of fell into the play as he was going towards the try line, and Coruscant was rushing across to try and threaten the try, and it looked even like an innocuous kind of just sort of clip of the sort of back of the hand or the wrist or something across the cheek or the chin. It didn't look serious, but in terms of the level of contact, but it was serious. It knocked Leilua out of the game at that stage, and it wasn't, it wasn't nice to see him looking in so much distress. And obviously, Joey Leilua, being his brother, found it all quite emotional and just couldn't control himself after that point in the game, and made an absolute one of the most stupid things you've ever seen. He just I don't know if you've seen, so he just clotheslined one of the it was the Dylan Edwards, the fullback of the Panthers, completely off the ball.
Yeah.
And it just unbelievable, like stupidity, really. I can understand the emotions were running high, but it was unbelievable stupidity. And at that point of the game, yes, it was lost, most probably, but it was only, there was 2 scores in it. They could have done something miraculous. And I tell you what, one of the players in this competition who can deliver miraculous is Joey Leilua. We've seen that already in the last few weeks. So the fact that he did the absolute opposite was just crazy. But I thought for the Panthers, you just see calmness personified, like the opposite, really, when you see Nathan Cleary. And Jerome Luai, I've sort of questioned whether he is good enough to kind of be, is that an area they can improve to the next step? But actually, he had a good game in this one. And Williami Kikau was just completely used as a decoy almost the entire game. And
yeah.
I heard him talked about a lot, but I didn't see him with the ball a lot. So there you go. Well done, the Panthers. Panthers seem the real deal, don't they?
They do seem to be. Yeah, definitely. There's not a lot to fault them on, is there?
No, I think they're really sort of finding the best team as well, which is good for them. On to Sunday's games. We didn't get any fan reviews in on either of these. The Sea Eagles 12, the Knights 14. I only saw the last 2 minutes of this game.
Was it a good 2 minutes, though?
It was, well, maybe it wasn't quite 2 minutes, maybe it was 10 minutes, but it was crazy times. So I don't know if you're aware of the end of this game, but you know how the Sea Eagles had that game against the Eels where there was the forward pass that should have been called backwards pass, and then throughout the entire build-up for the next game, almost most of the commentary during the next game, and certainly all of the half-time of the next game, was talking about that moment from the previous game.
Yeah.
Well, we had that again in this game. So it got down to very close to the end of the game. It got to a point of it was obviously 14-12 going in right into the end of the game. The Sea Eagles put a kick. The Sea Eagles winger Tavita Funa put a kick in down the wing, and looked to be shoved by one of the Knights defenders coming across. Yeah. And also did run into another Knights defender, but I don't think that was avoidable. I think that was a player playing for the ball and just an inevitable collision. So the referee sent it up for a video ref referral for a possible penalty try, but he said no try, but check the merits of a penalty try. And basically, there was no way that it was a penalty try. You couldn't say that the push on the guy who'd kicked the ball was going to stop him getting to the ball, or however it played out anyway. But you could have said it was a penalty for that. And I don't know what the video ref could or couldn't rule on at that instance, but if they'd have given a penalty, which I think everyone feels like he was shoved off the ball, so it could have been a penalty, then they would have had Ruben Garrick would have had a chance to level the scorelines up from very close to the scoreline to the sideline, to be completely fair. So it wouldn't have been guaranteed, but it could have gone into extra time, and you would have to feel that Cherry Evans probably would have had the edge then going into Golden Point. So that was really a really touch point in the game. But the Knights are going great guns. They're not exciting, they're not entertaining, but they are coming through adversity in games. They had a few injuries again in this game that they had to deal with, and shifted around in the back division in particular to get through to the end. I mean, Kalen Ponga had to go off for a head check and couldn't come back on, so he missed the last 15 minutes or so of the game as well. So that wasn't ideal for them, given that he's their main X-factor player when everyone else is solid and just not making mistakes most of the time. But yeah, well done to the Knights.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about, isn't it, coming through the adversity and grinding the wins out at times.
And I mean, going into this season, I know you didn't watch a lot of NRL, and kind of we've had the opportunity / necessity to, haven't we? The Knights probably weren't a side that were on your radar, I would imagine.
No, I mean, only as a name.
Yeah.
Do you know your team name rather than anything much? Yeah.
The final game of the round then didn't see Luke Thompson make his Bulldogs debut, unfortunately for all of us. It was the Bulldogs 10, the Rabbitohs 26. Tom Burgess did play for the Rabbitohs, made 143 metres, and I think the scoreline was pushed out by a last-minute interception try by the Rabbitohs that that pushed the scoreline up. They were the better team throughout, but the Bulldogs are bottom of the table and the Rabbitohs didn't dominate them. So the Rabbitohs still have work to do there to get back up to their high standards. But well done to Tom Burgess for having another strong game.
Yeah, decent meters there. So
do you know we were talking the other week about meters and stuff. They've done in the League Express this week. They did a comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Was it in League Express? Where did I read it? Hold on. Yeah, in League Express, they did a comparison about like the stats between last year and this year, comparing with the penalties and the 6 to go. And the one thing that it pulled out as being like notably different is the amount of meters being made. So on average, the first 5 weeks under the new rules saw a more than 10% increase in the total amount of meters that were being made in the games compared to all the games played in 2019. So when we were sort of saying that, well, it was you said like these stats are crazy, sort of bigger than what we see. That maybe we're going to start seeing. Maybe we're going to have to change our parameters once we get the 6 again rules, Sarah, for what we get included in the stat round.
Yeah, maybe. Be interesting anyway to see, won't it?
Yeah, and that stats comparison was a pretty interesting read. Yeah, for me, for a nerd like me.
Yep.
Do you want to take us through the standings?
Yep. So the Eels stay top with their record of 7 wins from 8 games played. So that's 14 points. Panthers are on 13, Storm on 12, and the Knights on 11 make up the top 4. Roosters and Raiders have 10 points, and then there's a group of 4 on 8 points. So that's the Sharks, the Tigers, the Rabbitohs and the Sea Eagles, who have an even record, having played 8, won 4 and lost 4. Scored 129 and conceded 129. Yeah, how crazy is that?
That's what the table says. Yeah, after 8 games, that's pretty remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah. The Cowboys and the Warriors have 6 points each, and the Dragons, the Broncos and the Titans have 4, whilst the Bulldogs stay bottom with just 2 points.
Round 9 fixtures starts. Actually, before we get on to that, let's just talk for a second about how bad Queensland is. Like, what's going on? The Titans got smashed, the Cowboys got smashed, and the Broncos lost to a side that we thought had no team spirit, and they've gone now on a 6 games in a row losing streak or something. The Broncos. What's going on in that state? It's very weird, isn't it?
It is indeed.
We'll see if that has any repercussions on coaches and stuff like that. But obviously Holbrook's safe at the Titans, but maybe not so quite secure in Brisbane and in Townsville. So but talking of one of those woeful Queensland sides, the Cowboys, they get the glory of hosting the Roosters on Thursday at 10:50 a.m. So what, we expect another smash doing that for them?
Going on current things, you would think maybe.
Yep, the Titans versus the Warriors Friday at 9 a.m. Then the Rabbitohs versus the West Tigers Friday at 10:55 a.m. We've got the Sharks versus the Panthers Saturday at 6. Broncos versus the Bulldogs Saturday at 8:30. Now that could be and should be. I mean, why on earth are they not playing him when they're that shit? They need to put Luke Thompson in the side. And he's not going to get his match fitness any other way, is he? Really?
No, you'd think not.
No other games to play in and stuff. Anyway, and against the Broncos might be looking at it as an opportunity for a win, but surely the Bulldogs will too. Then we've got maybe the game of the round, the Raiders versus the Storm, Saturday 10:35 a.m. Sunday at 7:05, but a good game to get up for on Sunday. The Knights versus the Eels, and then the Dragons versus the Sea Eagles round things out Sunday at 9:30. So is there any particular games for you there that you're keen to make time to see, Sarah?
I will try and watch the Knights against the Eels. Yeah. That's the one I'll definitely aim to watch.
2 top 4 sides, isn't it? I think the Raiders versus